Hello and welcome everyone to this World Athletics webinar, Race Anywhere, Running Esports and the Revolution of Virtual. Just going to give a couple of minutes for everyone to join. Please come and say hello in the chat. I'm going to have a look down at the screen and just see as people come in, but just announce yourself as you come in. Tell us where you're tuning in from. We had close to 300 people registered, so hopefully a good crowd of them is going to turn up and join us live. Can you just bring the chat up for me, please, Oliver? Oh, there it is there. Yeah, just say a quick hello as you join us, and bring up just the participants for me as well so I can see them scrolling through, and flick that over onto participant attendees. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Chris Winter, I see. Colleen McNally, David Katz. Hello, David. Fung Wang Tak joining us from Hong Kong. Hello again, Fung Wang. Thanks for joining. I'm going to have to put my glasses on to read some of them here. Excuse me while I... Good afternoon, everyone. Benjamin Rue, Nikos Polis. Hello, Nikos. Nice to see you. Nigel from Plymouth. Lorna Campbell from Abbott World Marathon Majors, from somewhere Boston, I think. Steve Wallace from Toronto. Hello, Steve. Johnny Red Torch. Johnny at Red Torch. Hello there, Johnny. Thanks for joining. Just give it another minute or so to let everyone come in. I see Jenny Murch there, Jorg Lozano, Katrin Vorum. Hello, Katrin, joining us from Denmark. Laura disappeared off the screen there for a moment. Sandro from Zurich Marathon. Hello, Sandro. Luis Baz from Beirut in Lebanon. Hello, Luis again. Good to see you. Colleen, VR are big in South Africa. Great to hear. Yeah, lots of exciting virtual and digital stuff happening there. Ivan from Malta, hello. Fred Tresler from Boston, hello there, Fred. Got a real spread of the globe here. Really great to see. All right, we'll just give it about another 30 seconds and then we'll get underway with the formalities. I'm going to just prepare myself for that. So, get ready. A big welcome here again to Race Anywhere, the running esports and the revolution of virtual. I'm Chris Robb. For those of you that don't know me, the CEO and founder of Mass Participation World. Delighted to be working with World Athletics again to host another one of these webinars, and a fantastic and very relevant topic we have today. We've got a fantastic lineup of speakers, and I'm going to go through the program. Once I get done with the welcome, we're going to welcome An Dung Jui, the Chief Information Officer of World Athletics, and he's going to give an official welcome, an intro, and talk about digital transformation in athletics. We're then going to move to a really interesting and hugely experienced panel, and we're going to ask the question, what do we talk about when we talk about virtual running? We're going to be joined by Craig Taylor, the Director of Growth Marketing for Running and Triathlon from Zwift, joining us from the US, from Los Angeles. Hugh Brasher, Event Director of London Marathon Events, obviously joining us from London, and hugely experienced in this space, Hisham Shahabi, the founder and CEO of Next Sports, joining us from Washington, D.C. Looking forward to hearing the insights of that panel. We then move on and welcome a legend of the industry, a real innovator of the industry, Carlo Capalbo, Event Director of Run Check, joining us from Prague. And we're going to be talking with, I'm going to be doing an interview with Carlo, and we're going to be talking about boosting the relevance of a legacy marathon in a digital world, the 2021 Prague Marathon. We then move on to a fundamentally China segment, and we talk about hybrid experiences for endurance sports, spectators and participants, lessons from China, and we'll be joined by Guy Horn, the CEO of H&A Media. We'll also be joined from Beijing, I believe, by Julia Yang, Account Director, H&A Media in China, and Lily Lee, the Assistant General Manager of the Shanghai Marathon, which promises to be really insightful and interesting segment. We then move on to an interview where we welcome Alessio Punzi, the road events manager of World Athletics, who I'm sure you all know, and really looking forward to what I'm sure is going to be a fascinating interview conversation between Alessio and Florian Weber, the creative director of Munich 2022. And he's going to be speaking about they're going to be speaking about the changing spectator experience in athletics, digitally enabled, gamified, and data-centered. Some great insights there, no doubt. And then we welcome back for, I think, the third time in this series, Mark Hurst, the bidding manager of World Athletics. And he's going to give us a presentation, another bidding opportunity, the most immersive experience in athletics, introducing the World Indoor Athletics Championships 2024 and 2026. We'll be hearing from Mark a little bit later on. And then if you haven't had enough of me by then, I'm going to come back and do a short wrap and then hand the baton for the final leg across to Alessio Punzi, who's going to give the wrap up and close. Just a little bit more in terms of some of the housekeeping. I'm going to ask Oliver, who's our director, just to pop a poll into the audience to get a sense of who's joining us in terms of our industry sectors and so on. And you know, generally, I think we're going to have a real mix for this one. So from the people that I've seen sign up, we've got quite a few people from outside of athletics. We've got organizers, we've got brands and sponsors and the like. So it's going to be an interesting mix. You will be muted, as is typical in these, but you can communicate all the way through in the chat. So both the chat and the Q&A we'll have up in front of us. If you've got questions along the way through, I will do my best to try and moderate those. For those of you that might not have watched any of these before, you can customize your screen view on Zoom. So you can choose whether you want to have a gallery view of all of the speakers, or you can choose to spot the active speaker where they'll pop up large on your screen. So have a bit of a play with that. Our program is scheduled to run for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Hopefully you can stay the duration. It's almost a marathon or more than a marathon itself, depending on which end of the field you're at, but certainly at the pointy end, it's a bit longer than a marathon. But we are recording already, live streaming on the Mass Participation World Facebook page, and we are also recording, and we will upload it to the Mass Participation World YouTube page. Just a couple of quick announcements as we get ready to get underway with the program from a Mass Participation World perspective. A lot of focus on trying to get our events back, and one of the studies that we're doing is mass participation transmission at mass participation events, outdoor transmission. We're running a tally, and we're now up to, I think, getting very close to 2 million participants in events for only one track COVID case. For those of you that might have completed an event, and ideally we ask you to wait 2 weeks after your event before you submit, please keep giving us your numbers. We want to build that so it's a statistic that can be used around the world. We run lots of webinars. Tomorrow we've got a webinar on alternate revenue streams, thinking outside the box. That's our fortnightly webinar. And we've also just recently announced, many of you will know Marcel Altenberg. We're running next week some crowd dynamics and risk management masterclasses and masterminds with Marcel. If I can help you with anything, chris@chrisrob.asia or chris@massparticipationworld.com. Connect on social media. Very happy to help and support wherever I can. But let's get underway with the program, and gives me great pleasure to give the official welcome on behalf of World Athletics, An Dung-Yui, Chief Information Officer, World Athletics. Big welcome, An, and I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm very lucky to be able to introduce that webinar. So I'm going to share with you, Alessio contacted me a few days ago, and he asked me whether I would do an intro for this webinar. I think it's a very topical subject we have today. I'm hoping I'm going to give you some keys for yourself or for people around you. So I prepared a few slides, just 3 slides. So it's going to be a very short intro, but hopefully you will enjoy that. So let me share my slide. Okay. I guess everyone can see my slide now. So Alessio, when he talked to me, suggested, no, can you talk about the importance of the digital transformation in athletics and what it means for athletics in general and for world athletics? And obviously, I'm going to relate very much to what we are going through as a governing body, and let you know what is our line of thinking, and hopefully that will help you as well in your journey. It's difficult to, when you are talking about digital transformation, it's difficult not to talk about change management in general. And I think that you know, a lot of people, I mean athletics is a very old discipline, and some people can wonder why, you know, why do we need to change? And it has been a bit weird for me because, you know, everyone is bitching about COVID nowadays. You know, there's tons of things we cannot do, but COVID, in a sense, has made it very clear that we need to evolve as a sport. I think it has been a wake-up call for a number of people, and even people you know who were very old-fashioned do understand the importance of digital, and they do understand that it's something which will help the sport, and it's not a diversion, but it's going to support the sport very much. I don't think that digital transformation is a much talked about topic, but I don't think it's, you know, very new. What is really new is that sense of urgency which has emerged. Talking about digital transformation, what are we talking about really? I mean, is it, you know, it's a very vague and used term. For world athletics and for a lot of actors in athletics, when we are talking about what are the objectives for that digital transformation, I can describe that into 3 stages. The first stage is about how do you evolve the old-fashioned thinking of many of us being an event-driven organization, and move toward organizations which are experience-centric rather than event-centric. And by experience-centric, it means that, you know, we can offer and we will offer something which goes beyond the event itself. So it's a journey we want people to embark before the actual physical event, and after the physical event, being able to build that momentum. It's to rethink the value proposition we have for our fan, and it is very important for us to understand that we're here to entertain people, to connect with people, and there's much competition around, and we need to compete for attention, and we need to modernize what we have. When the sport has stopped during COVID, you know, people, you know, did do other things. So we should, even though a lot of people were missing sport, there were other alternatives for people to spend time on. I think we are competing for time, so it's really important that we do fight with the same weapons against other form of entertainment, and there's a lot going on in the world of sport as well. The second stage is how do you use that digital revolution to create a deeper connection with your fan, to design a personalized and individual journey with them, and that way you can really grow the relationship we have with fan. I think a big difference we have as a sport compared with basic entertainment, compared with a movie, for example. You know, some people are saying that we're competing with Netflix in a way, is that I think we can influence the lifestyles of people connecting with our sport. And I think it has a deeper rooted relationship. We can have other form of entertainment or leisure if we are talking about grassroots don't have. So I think it's something we need to acknowledge and we need to capitalize on. And the last stage of digital transformation is about how do you use that digital ecosystem to activate. And by that, I mean, how do you grow participation? How do you grow rights if you hold rights? How do you increase your audience? How can you do better in terms of merchandising? How do you get your sponsors, new sponsors, or your sponsors invest even more into what you are proposing? And it's about growing the sport, and so it's always good to keep in mind what you are trying to achieve eventually, and technology is certainly going to help you if you know how you need to, where you need to get to. To end that short intro, I just wanted to talk briefly about the size of the price. When we I think it's good to try to benchmark ourselves and try to understand where we can end up with what success looks like. I think if you are talking about athletics in general, and that includes a number of formats, we believe that there is in the world 3.5 billion people who are interested fans into whether it's mass casual running or competitions, and we are lucky to be in a sport which is very accessible, and therefore the total target is really outstanding in our case. We believe that there is around 700 million engaged fans, people who are more than interested but participate in some fashion by watching, by practicing. And again, it can take different forms. And today, and I'm talking about more about the case of World Athletics, we have only 3 million active social followers, which is sizable. But as you can see, there's room for improvement. And historically, even though we have been very active on social media in the last few years, we have not been capitalizing on that following, and trying to capture a bit more data from our fans in terms of what do they like, what do they consume, how do they participate in our sport. I think it's something which is what I call a digital west. There's everything to do, and I think there's the future in that respect looks really bright for us. And again, drilling down in few numbers, when you are looking at those numbers, what does that mean in terms of ratio? It's only if we are only achieving here a small proportion of what we should, where we could get to, and I'm using the examples of rugby and cricket, for example. So you can see that when comparing against other sports, I think we have a stronger base to start with, and there is much room for improvement. So again, if you are on that journey of digital transformation, hold on, the ride might be bumpy, but the price is huge, and the future looks bright. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Arne. Thank you for joining us and for those wonderful insights to set the stage as we move into our first panel, or on panel of the program. It's the only panel we have, but I think it's going to be a wonderful one. The topic that we're going to be talking about is, what do you talk about when you talk about virtual running? Delighted to be joined by Craig Taylor, Director Growth Marketing, Running and Triathlon from Zwift. Hisham Shahabi, the founder and CEO of Next Sports Inc., and Hugh Brasher, Event Director, London Marathon Events. Welcome to all three of you. If we can get you up on the screen to say a quick hello.
Hello. Hello from Washington, D.C. Hisham here.
Hello, Hisham. Love your backdrop thanks there, Craig.
Always trying to stay on brand. Hello there from London.
Thank you, Hugh. Thanks for joining us. I think it'd be great to start, and for those of you that might not know his background, Hisham was working for the IOC when they first recognized that esports might be something that would be really important for the Olympics and the IOC to get a handle on, and he did a huge amount of research. And I think when you speak esports, you probably get a whole multitude of different definitions, and there's probably a lot of people on this call that think esports is a bunch of young kids and young generations sitting around on gaming consoles. Clearly, it's way more than that. So, Hisham, would love you just to start off by giving us what you would give your definition of esports to be, please.
Yeah, certainly. So esports is short for electronic sports. It's a very young term. It's only been around for about 20 years, and it was coined to describe the activity of competitive gaming. Yeah, so gaming happens typically on your consoles, so like your PlayStations and Xboxes, but also on computers, which is where initially esports really took a hold, and then extended in the last few years, especially to mobile gaming as well. Yeah? And you have different types of genres of esports, and the use of the word sports is actually not indicative of it actually being what we all know as sports and running, for example. So you have games like Fortnite, which is what's called a multiplayer online battle arena, and that's one of the more famous ones these days. But you also have real-time strategy ones, and those types of games are the most, let's say, attractive and most popular types of esports in the world. The simulation sports games, so FIFA and NBA 2K and such, are actually very small in the esports world in terms of audiences. Now, what's changed in the last, let's say, 5 years is that there's been a focus from the Olympic world and from the sports world on the topic of esports, which is why now there's, I think, a bit of, not confusion, but the word is being used in many contexts. And so you see esports, virtual sports, phygital, all kind of mashing in, yeah, and even though it let's say emerged from the gaming world, it is now very much a part of kind of the sports industry's lexicon.
Thanks, Hisham. And I think I'd be right to say that many of the massive sports brands, I mean, you spoke about FIFA and the like, but, you know, big clubs in the NBA, NFL, football have their own esports teams, primarily in that gaming space, but increasingly starting to move into the sporting space as well. Would that be a fair comment?
Yeah, so it's definitely looked at as a marketing tool in the beginning. So even by the likes of FIFA, by the likes of the NBA, it's a way to extend their brand beyond their existing audiences, something Anne was mentioning a bit earlier. So esports was seen as a marketing tool. Now what has changed as well on that side is because it's become competitive. So instead of just people gaming in their basements, they can actually be on stage and compete with the best in the world. That's why it's been elevated to more of a sporting format. So you have qualifications happening, teams that are actually taking care of nutrition and sleep and training together and having coaches and psychologists and so on. So this is why now there's a sporting element to it. So FIFA, as well as NBA 2K and many other sports now have actually world level competitions for the top players in their video games.
Thank you. And maybe that's a great segue to go across to Craig and hear some of the experiences Zwift been involved in. You know, one of the ones which we're going to hear about from the group talking from Guy, talking about the China experience is Super League Triathlon and their arena games with a partnership with you, some of the pro cycling events, the blend of pro and amateur. Maybe you could just give us a bit of an insight, please, in terms of some of those properties that Zwift has been involved in and maybe that blending of of elite and amateur and also the, you know, how those opportunities might transcend into running and athletics.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting having you break that down, Hisham. We absolutely wanted to kind of help with the confusion that you're talking about of further kind of bringing sports into that esports space. So at Zwift, our motto is kind of, we're the fitness company born from gaming. We're viewed as an MMO video game, so massively multiplayer online video game. And with that, trying to bring that true sporting element to esports and that actual physical participation it. So exactly to what Chris talked about, in the last year, we've had the opportunity to kind of take on some of these bigger marquee properties, whether it be directly under me with the Super League Triathlon arena games, in which we blended the virtual and real world. So for those not familiar, we hosted these events at really iconic swim venues centered around a 50-meter swimming pool. There were 10 lanes in the pool. Then we also had 10 cycling stations set up on the pool deck and 10 running stations set up. So you would see athletes compete in these very short events just to keep engagement high, to keep it exciting for viewers at home. They would compete in a 200-meter swim and then immediately go into a 4K bike and then into a 1K run. So that way it was just kind of very action packed in that sense. But we see this as kind of the future model for this, of you're bringing your favorite athletes into one venue in the days that hopefully will come once COVID has a bit more of a handle on it, of filling the stands with fans in those arenas. Creates a really electric atmosphere. But we've also had the opportunity to take on the virtual Tour de France in 2020, and then as well as the first esports UCI World Championships. And all of these are properties that we hope to carry forward into the future. It's a way of bringing a global community of athletes together, and presenting that to the fans and giving them yet another option of how to view it, and also a way for them to truly relate to that sport, of giving them the information and giving them events that they can participate in as well. So it's not just about the pros, but it's about the broader community too. Oh, sorry, Chris. I think you're still on mute.
You're on mute, Chris.
Sorry. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so I guess one of the real key differentiators of mass participation sport generally is that opportunity for the amateur athlete to run the same marathon course, participate the same triathlon course, ride at stage of the Tour de France. How is that? How do you see that starting to translate in those examples that you've shared? So the virtual Tour de France, the amateur cyclist gets to ride the same route that the pro has ridden. Some of the teams put in their pros out there. They still get to compare themselves to them, albeit that they're on their trainer somewhere in the world, but they still have that opportunity that happens in real live mass participation events.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, I mean, specifically talking to the virtual Tour de France, we offered the exact same stages that the pros took on to the community. And it gives you that sense of, you can go watch the pros and you can see the numbers that Rohan Dennis is putting out, and really compare yourself to that. And then you get to go race your community. You have that sense of competition, but also you get that sense of pro awe of, oh my gosh, I can't believe the power that they're holding over this distance, and really comparing yourself to the pro, and you have that appreciation for it. So something that we'll always kind of try to do is give you the entertainment from the pros, but then also give you the place where you can go and compete in yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's what Zwift is here for, is to provide that community element, to provide the aspect of you as a community member being able to take part.
Chris, bringing that across to yourself, hugely successful virtual London Marathon last year, Virgin Money London Marathon, huge numbers of people, huge numbers of countries across the world. I'm interested to hear some of the success factors of that, but also, was there that element of comparison of, how were people comparing themselves to others? How did you build that competitiveness and that community into it as well? Just some of your key takeouts from that hugely successful event that you had.
Yeah, well, if I can just try and come back on what Craig was saying, and also bring in what was said earlier, I think what we have as an industry is an amazing opportunity. And this is an opportunity to provide different platforms that can engage with different audiences in a way that they want to be engaged with. And that is what we have to look at. It is, rather than saying, oh, we do in-person events. No, there's a huge opportunity here. And whether the customer wants to compare themselves to Rohan Dennis, whether they want to compare themselves to Eliud Kipchoge, or actually they're doing the event because of the community spirit and the togetherness they get, or whether they want to do it just to try and get fit and get healthy. And in the world that we're living in now, the reality of that obesity, and should you be obese and you get COVID-19, that potential outcome is can be the worst. There is a real opportunity to engage in a different way, and we have to start looking at, 3.5 billion potential fans. I disagree. There's far more potential fans. When you start looking at the ages, you start looking at, Fortnite, my 11-year-old, she's playing Fortnite. And what an opportunity in terms of, can you turn it into sport? Can you turn it into a revenue stream? So I have gone off topic in terms of your question, but I just think that this is a really exciting opportunity for our industry if we look at it very differently. Don't look at it that we're protecting the pie, that we're protecting let's say a pizza that is a 9-inch pizza. We have the opportunity to create a 24-inch pizza, and therefore the share of that pie is so much bigger. So I've forgotten all your questions, Chris, but I just thought that I would come in there.
Yeah, and couldn't agree more.
It's a wonderful point. It's an absolutely wonderful point. And I'm absolutely certain that you and Hisham were on the phone before this call, because on our planning call with Hisham, we spoke very much about the quantified self and how people are now tracking all those kind of things. So a great opportunity to throw back to you, Hisham, and talk about the quantified self in different ways, but how it relates to people tracking their own health and well-being, and people becoming much more aware of that. And maybe ways that's, again, leading on from where Hugh brought us in. How does the industry leverage that engagement opportunity to bring new people into the sport and to retain them in the sport of running and triathlon and cycling?
Yeah, absolutely. Both Hugh and Craig made some points that struck home, I would say. So in terms of, the brands that have been built in sports, they're all strong brands that are already attractive to fans. And so the idea is to think about exactly what Hugh was saying, that we have an opportunity to be kind of like the owners of our IP and content and storytellers that have a different way of telling our story, depending on the channel and the audience we want to reach. So esports is just one of those, but there are so many other opportunities. And then to Craig's point about kind of like you seeing what the pros do and then you being able to do it, this is exactly what, people are becoming more data savvy, just because we are carrying supercomputers in our pockets. We're wearing wearables that can tell us all kinds of data that used to not be able to get to within a few hours at a hospital. And this will only increase over time. If you think about smart homes, smart mirrors, all of this data that would be feeding into people's daily lives and how they will decide to live their lives is changing what they expect from all of the brands, events, workplaces, any interactions they have. They will expect that digital layer to be there and to personalize their experience. So this is, I guess, to Hugh's point, the opportunity in front of us is to think about how that consumer that is changing is also somebody that we can serve with other things, and how we can bring new partners in, partners like Zwift and others who perfect the technology development themselves. And us as sports organizations, we're tech companies in a way, but we can work with others that are better in tech, and then always protect the things that need to be protected, such as the fan relationship and collecting their data and having access to that data, because that really becomes the value for you as a race organizer, and for sponsors to come to you, and for fans to want to interact with you in the future. So I know I tried to bring some comments together, but hopefully that was useful.
Yeah, really useful, because I think, that you mentioned sponsors there, and certainly what the industry is struggling with in the traditional sense is, many of the properties have probably not evolved their offering to give those some of those things that you touched on there to brands. The commercial model's been broken for a long time. So it's not only this engagement opportunity with the participants, but it's how that then ends up being able to be monetized, how you're able to bring more partners on board and create that journey. And maybe speaking about the journey, let's go back to you, Hugh, because one of the things that you had, which was hugely successful about that event last year, was bringing the kids on board. And clearly the future health and well-being of, there's some people that are a long way down the track. I'm not saying that we're writing the elderly and the sick people off already, but we have this amazing opportunity to start engaging with the next generation now. And I'm interested to hear what you might have done with that post-London and how you're incorporating that into your plans for this year. You're talking about 100,000 people, 50,000 in a real event, 50,000 in a virtual event around the globe, and lots of kids involved in that as well. How do you bring that new generation through as much as re-educate the people that are involved already?
Look, again, I think it's just a fascinating opportunity. In the Virgin Money London Marathon last year, in only 9 days, we got 115,000 school kids to run 2.6 miles. Now, that event had normally been 2,600. What can you do? You can reward them digitally. You can reward school kids in a different way. You can start engaging kids together. You can start engaging schools together. Go back to your sponsorship piece. I mean, just, in terms of Zwift, you're going past, we did a partnership with Zwift with Ride London, which is a cycling event. It's one of the courses that you can ride on in Zwift. And the opportunity that you can have as a sponsor to do competitions, to engage 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day, when the customer wants to engage, rather than that one day at that one time. And it's all about looking at different ages, different demographics, just going back to the older age demographic point of view, or participants with disabilities. The fact that the 40th race, the 40th London Marathon, you could take 23 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds to do the 26.2 miles, allowed us to engage with a wider audience. And there were a lot of people who were walking the marathon. And some people were saying, well, that's not the marathon. Sorry, it's 26.2 miles. The marathon has never been defined by a time. So it is just what we have to do is, as an industry, is look differently. This digital revolution has brought, whether it's 3 years or 5 years of work forward into 12 months, it's just opened an opportunity quicker. And we have to look at the gaming. We have to look at esports. We have to look at virtual. We have to look at augmented reality. We have to look at what is going to happen in the future and start thinking of how we can engage in the way our customer wants to with our events. And it is so exciting.
That's so exciting, because I still unfortunately hear some of the narrative around some events seeing a virtual event as a necessary evil. We've got to put on another virtual event because we can't have a live event, missing this opportunity to build that engagement, to commercialize it, not only from a commercialization directly in terms of dollars and cents, but that marketing opportunity. Rather than going and getting all these new participants, you've got a whole bunch of participants that you can engage with all year round and bring them along to your events and create that journey and that experience for them. And on that note, I'd love to go back to you, Craig, because you've partnered with Hugh, you've partnered with a lot of probably much more publicized events in the cycling space. You've also worked with the Santa Monica 5K, I believe it was. Can you give us some insights in terms of some great case studies that you've seen, whether you've been involved in them or whether you've seen them out there in the industry, and what people that are listening on this call that might be facing it a little bit with fear and trepidation should be looking at to say, here's some great things that have been done, consider this?
Yeah, absolutely. So to that end, you're exactly right. So we had a partnership back in 2019 with LA Marathon. And one thing to say, just before jumping that, one of the things that we're very careful about with Zwift is we don't try to be a simulator. We don't try to replicate the exact course that you would experience in real life, because we want there to be a bit of separation there. So that way people still have the the reason. We don't want to replace in real life events. We want to complement those, whether it be with the training aspect or with a virtual option. So in that case, with the LA Marathon, they offer kind of this triple race format in which you can earn a special medal for completing the 5K, the 10K, or the 5K or the 10K, the half marathon, and the marathon. But one of the things that is the big limiter for them was the 5K and 10K, as they could only take 10,000 participants in that. So what we did there is we partnered with them to offer virtual versions of that race to increase the number of participants that they were able to take in, while at the same time offering training plans for both the half marathon and the marathon distance. So that way is about kind of exactly as you said, of engaging people 365 days a year, of how do we engage this LA Marathon community to provide them the training leading into that race, so that on race day, in that real life event, while you're standing in the pen and you're with everyone, you feel well prepared, and you've already created a sense of community, because you know that pacer that's standing there with the sign, because they've been leading your group runs on Zwift. So you already have that sense of kind of belonging, instead of just turning up to a race and it's like, okay, great, there's the 4 hour pace group. Like, I guess that's my group. You already know, okay, there's Chris, there's Hugh, there's so on and so forth, of who's participating with me. And that's the key element that we've talked a lot about, kind of esports and the competitive aspect of Zwift. And that's a pivot that we've had to make with COVID, but the true aim of Zwift is how do we bring the community together, and we give them a place for that shared experience. And that's one of the things that we really saw shine through with COVID is giving people that place where they can still interact with each other.
Thanks, Craig. Hisham, on that, I'd love to come back to you in terms of building that community, but keeping that community. So one of the things that I'm hearing quite a lot of is massive drop-offs in terms of sign-ups for virtual events. The same event that happened in 2020 now being replicated in 2021, been there, done that, bored, want to do something else. And that's something that we anecdotally hear, that the younger generation is looking for new experiences, wanting to move on. There's maybe less brand loyalty, there's less event loyalty. What kind of advice would you be giving to the people that are listening in terms of how they keep refreshing and maintain that engagement, not only for the younger generation, but maybe those that, have done their first virtual event and are looking for something that's new and unique year on, year out?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's $1 million question, but the main thing to recognize is that there is a generational shift that is happening between baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Gen Z. These are all different. Even though millennials and Gen Z are typically looked at in the same cohort, they're very different in the things that they look for, in the brands that they interact with, and the experiences that they look for. And millennials specifically are looking more for experiences than for products. So this is something I think that's important to keep in mind. So for race organizers, that's really looking at the demographic breakdown and recognizing what kind of partners that need to be brought in, because it might seem sometimes that a lot of the suggestions are about doing more things, right? As a race organizer, you're working with a very tight P&L, and that's why partners are really important. And usually marathons or mass participation events are like a pillar of the tourism strategy for a city. And so that's maybe one of the main drivers, but there's also other initiatives that a lot of cities are looking to do around tech and innovation. So thinking about how the race can become kind of like a testing lab, an experimental space for new solutions to be tested, for startups to test their technologies, could open up the opportunities for race organizers. And that's where it's important to think less about like legacy technology systems and think about more like open architecture. How can I create a technology ecosystem around my event that is open and allows for new partners to come in, with me again holding that data, holding on to the fan, and being in charge of that relationship with them on behalf of whoever is around me, whether they're commercial partners, technical partners, or otherwise.
Wow, some really valuable insights there. I think a bit of a left field thought, for probably not left field for you, but for some people listening, that using events as a testing ground. Thank you for that. Hugh,
Chris,
I'd love to come back to you, Hugh. Yeah, jump in there. I was about to come to you.
add something to that, because, you know, yeah, the tourism industry has been a part of why some events are happening. But what about you do partnerships with other virtual events around the world, and therefore you become a series. And as the person does the virtual event, if you create the right engagement, they're going to want to come and do the in-person event. The experience is very different. You cannot replicate that unbelievable feeling that you get from an event where people are actually physically supporting you. Yes, you can get it orally. Yes, you can get it in another way, but it is quite unique, and doing something with people. And this is again where we just have to think in a different way in order to attract the audience. And sure, they've got a you know, what they want rightly is something that is ever evolving. What we've got to do is look at the technology, which is evolving unbelievably quickly. You know, you start looking at you know, how far is it? How long away are we? I believe it's less than 3 years, where the virtual event, the person you are running against is on your glasses, and you are either trying to overtake them or they're trying to overtake you. There's the conversation going on in your ear from the same glasses. And that could be even less, that could be a year away. This is, and then the in-person, then the virtual event actually is in person because they're in your glasses. Then taken from your glasses, they're in your contact lenses or your cornea or whatever it is. It is going to evolve unbelievably. And we just have to think and how we can do that.
You've stolen my wrap-up question. We've got less than 5 minutes to go, and I was going to ask you to look in your crystal ball or your Apple glasses. So beyond that, if in 5 years' time, where do you see it, Hugh?
Well, look, I believe there is the world is being mapped at the moment by Apple, by Google, by Niantic, in a way that we almost possibly couldn't imagine. So they will know to the millimeter where we are, looking at the topography of where we are, where we happen to be. And Apple Health has come along. There will be, you know, you've already talked about people looking at biometrics of their health. Abbott, as one of our healthcare partners, has Freestyle Libre, a sensor where it can help you understand your glucose level as you're exercising. There is just, you know, I believe that we will be able to get the best out of ourselves. We will know when we should be eating and drinking very precisely. So our performances will be better, that our health will be being directed to be better. We will be rewarded potentially by governments for doing the right thing. So there's a huge opportunity. The cost of healthcare is astonishing, and yet there are ways through exercise to change that story. So yeah, I'll stop there because I'll let it go on, but there are some amazing things that are going to come in the not too distant future.
Wonderful, Hugh, and a great case study of that, giving my Aid Station podcast a quick plug. You were my 100th guest the week before last. The gentleman that went live today, incredible man out of the US, Tony, was told as a young kid that he was going to be a diabetic teenager and that he'd have to go on insulin. He's now 66. He's run 131 marathons. He's run on every continent, and he hasn't yet had any insulin. Great proof in the pudding there. And obviously there's many other health solutions as well. Craig, let's come to you, your crystal ball. And I'd love, if I may, your crystal ball a little bit for the benefit of Alessio and World Athletics. Where do you see the opportunities here from a running equivalent of what has happened with Super League Triathlon and the Tour de France virtuals and the elites in that? Where does the opportunity go for athletics and running here?
Yeah, absolutely. With that, it's something that we're continuing to evolve into and to grow into. But it's exactly as we've talked about today, is how do we provide more options, not necessarily a replacement, but how do we bring the global community together, so that way you might have pros competing alongside amateurs. You kind of have these the ability to as Hugh said, like that's our vision, is that you have kind of that in-person feel while competing virtually. So you're on Zwift, you're on your treadmill at your house while your friends on their treadmill in London, and kind of all across the globe, and you can speak to each other, you can compete against each other, but you can also train with each other, you can motivate each other, and that's where we've seen the success coming out of COVID, and not seeing a vast drop off in terms of the event participation, because people have that accountability to the groups that they've joined in on, and we have more and more kind of influencers in the space, and kind of key figures helping to drive that. We started off the year with Eddie Izzard and her taking on a marathon a day for the month of January. We had a massive group that came in and ran a marathon every single day with Eddie, and they still continue to meet every Wednesday at noon London time, and that is their run group. So you create this sense of accountability for everyone. In terms of the esports aspect with running, there's a lot to be done there. There's a lot on the hardware side, the performance verification side, of how do we create an even playing field across the board, so people see that as a legitimate option. But definitely excited to take that on, and hope that in the next year to 2 years we'll see some really exciting developments in that space.
Wonderful. Thanks, Craig. We started with you, Hisham. Let's come back to you. We're pretty much out of time, but a couple of minutes, just a quick wrap of where you see, as you look into the crystal ball, where might we be 5 years down the track?
No, not much to add to what Hugh and Craig said, but I would say this, that, we, at the end, we're human beings. We're driven by specific things. And so like the aspect of community, I think, will always be important. The aspect of belonging and recognition will always be important. And so those drivers are really intrinsic, and they can really be manifested in marathons and mass participation events, but also in kind of your regular week to week keeping fit with your buddies, right? So I believe those fundamentals will stay in the industry. It's just about who will take on those responsibilities and serve the market. So the question about serving the market is then where the competitive forces come in. And so, many years ago, there was no Zwift, but Zwift came in and they saw a market opportunity. And that was, again, available to the sports industry to develop on its own. But we had like tech and capital coming in. And this is something that I think will increase over time if sports organizations do not kind of go through that digital transformation, which Anne was talking about at the beginning of the conversation. So I think lots of opportunities, the pie will grow, and then it's more about how to make sure that as race organizers, as sports organizations, you're capturing a bigger piece of that pie as it grows in the future.
Thank you so much. So a real common theme there. Great opportunity, lots of excitement, need to embrace it, not be scared of it. As Hugh said, build the 24-inch pizza. There's plenty of space for everyone to get a slice. And thank you so much to our three panelists. Craig Taylor, Director Growth Marketing, Running and Triathlon from Zwift. Thank you, Craig, joining us early in the morning in LA. Hugh Brasher, Event Director, London Marathon Events, and Hisham Shahabi, Founder and CEO, Next Sports Inc., joining us also early in the morning in Washington. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And from there, we move on to another exciting segment. Delighted and honored to have the opportunity to have a conversation with a real icon of the industry. I'm joined from Czech Republic. Carlo Capalbo, the event director of Run Czech. I had a momentary lapse there from the beautiful city of Prague. We were together there, it seems like decades ago now, for the wonderful European business of running when you hosted us there. Boosting the relevance of a legacy marathon in a digital world, the 2021 Prague Marathon. Hello, Carlo. Wonderful to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hi to everybody.
Carlo, we're going to start off with a short video of this wonderful new initiative that you've just launched called the Battle of the Teams. And then we're going to come back and have a chat with you. But let's just sit back and watch this 30-second video, please.
Thank you. Let's see.
Run Check presents Battle of the Teams. 4 teams of 4 men and 4 women. Some of the best marathoners in the world. The best total score wins. Battle of the Teams, live from Prague, May 30th, 2021. Starting on the Charles Bridge and finishing on the Old Town Square. Battle of the Teams, invented by Run Check.
Hello. So
Carlo,
now, Chris.
You must be a very busy man, and honored that you've taken time out to join us tonight. That date is just around the corner. But let's start by hearing a little bit about Battle of the Teams beyond what's been shown in the video, please.
Yeah. So now everybody knows how I did spend the last 6 months thinking about the battle. So indeed, the last 6 months, I heard before the word opportunity. Indeed, the last 6 months could be seen as a waste of time or as an opportunity. We tried to turn it as an opportunity, and we were working on expanding the thinking how a marathon can be. Yeah, we are all among colleagues, and we all know that the marathon on TV is a little bit slow. And indeed, we are not able, compared to other sports, to engage new communities, especially youth. So we thought marathon, there is a misconception about marathon perceived only as an individual sport. Indeed, it's a team effort. So we thought if we add to the marathon the team concept, we would add tons of enthusiasm, excitement. Every runner would count, every second would count, and the drama basically does not end when the first cross the finish line. Indeed, start there and ends when the last indeed arrive and cross the finish line. Indeed, we made and we tried to make indeed the sport of running much more watchable. Yeah. So we thought about the name of the Battle of the Teams, the challenge. We need to energize ourselves during the last month. We took 32 athletes, among some of them among the best in the world. We put in 4 teams, each team of 8, 4 men and 4 women. And those athletes will compete. This is indeed a real marathon. So 42 kilometers is a labor race sanctioned by World Athletics, but indeed is based on teams. Each team is backed by a corporate sponsor. And surprisingly, in this period, we had a luck or the opportunity to get on board other 2 large partners that they backed the projects. Each team is a charity, and each team is a captain, non-ambassador, non-player, an ambassador. Usually a gold medal in other sport, or winner of Wimbledon, or gold ball in football. And that is the battle of the team. Why we did this? Indeed, this is all about fun engagement, improvement of broadcast and media coverage with a little bit an innovative and new proposition, both for brands and media. And doing this, we matched the few values. Yeah, the race is the equality in gender, because for men and for women in each team, equality from an economic point of view, the prize money will be split equally among them. Is multiracial because there are runners from Africa, Asia, South America, and of course Europe, and is a big challenge during the pandemic. But maybe the most important thing is accessibility. With the Battle of the Team, we could give the same access to win a gold to a lady who lives in a metropolitan area and has 2 kids, and a lady that lives at 2,000 meters in Kenya and has, of course, different occasion and opportunities to train. So if you allow me, Chris, I would call it democratization of the sport. We basically linked together, or this is an attempt to link together the front of the race with the back of the race. How? The runners, their time will be expressed in points according to the World Athletic tables. They will be indeed evaluated through their personal best, and the organization will give indeed a bonus of 10% in terms of points in order to give a premium to the one who indeed run for the best.
And you've built a whole bunch of ways, Carlo, and I think you got some slides to show us around how that's going to look, you know, being literally the team tally going as the race is going. Do you want to take a look at those slides now? Is now
Please.
a good time to share that?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, so I can comment them. And then we will see how we use digital technological solutions to present indeed our sport. So this is the TV graphics. Well, not yet.
It's coming now, Carlo. Next one.
Yeah. Yes. So this is a complete innovation, because we got inspired by Champions League or UEFA League or the draft of NBA, and we created a draft. So the 4 ambassadors, again, gold medals or big sport personalities, international, they were choosing the athletes that they were equally divided according to the personal best in 4 pools, pool 1, 2, 3, and reserve. All this, of course, is available on our website, which has all the information. But the draft was then broadcasted live on Czech TV yesterday evening, and today again at 4:00 p.m. So in about 1 hour or less. And of course, it's on our web, on our channel. We can
Wonderful.
pass to the next slide.
Thank you.
Yes, this is a presentation of a team. The lady is Petra Kvitova. She won in the last 5 years 2 times Wimbledon tennis. And this is a presentation with the team, with the hashtag, with the charity, for which the people that they run our virtual run, they could devote money, and with the capital.
Can we maybe just hear a little bit more about that? Because I think that's, you know, we speak a lot in as we're focusing on this digital space, the younger generation, probably much more purpose driven, the opportunity for them. And I know Guy Horn was talking yesterday on, you know, little micro deposits that happen in China, which is huge, which are maybe starting to make their way to us. How do they contribute? Small little amounts for charity that's done live while the race is happening. It's happening before the event. Can you maybe just talk us through that whole purpose and charity element of it, please?
Yeah, so we are running from the beginning of May the Prague International Marathon virtual, which is already few thousand runners. And the event will stay for a month. And let's say that the final of the Prague virtual marathon is indeed the battle of the team. The people, the runners, they can indeed devote money to each charity, and indirectly, if they choose the charity, because the charity is connected to the team, they do support the team. And then at the end, on May the 30th, when the battle of the team will happen and the virtual marathon will end at the same time, then all the donors will be then broadcasted on TV, listed, and the organization will thank them. So
that's really wonderful, and that's, you know, that recognition, a bit of a throwback, and you'd relate to this. In our early years, they used to publish the results of some of the big races in the newspaper, didn't they? You'd see, you know, literally pages and pages of the results. Maybe this is a little bit of a virtual version, but with a charity component to it. I love that idea of recognizing them on television for their contributions. That's wonderful. Why don't we give you the opportunity to move on to your next slide, Carlo?
Yes, please. So this is the start number. I told you that I reset everything during the pandemic, and I start to think business is not as usual. So this is the start number. As you can see, is the logo of the event, then the logo of the corporate partner. We are lucky because the 4 corporate partners are large international corporations. Then there is our sport partner. Our motto, all runners are beautiful. And this is, with this number, identify the member of the team. So in every team, there is a 1 to 8, 1 to 6 score, 7 and 8, they are bench runners. Like in every sport, there could be a DNF, so they immediately are entering the scoring system. We can go ahead.
Next one.
Yes. Okay, this is very important. All lovers of Formula One will recognize her. And on the upper corner, on the left corner, those are the 4 teams, and expressed in points, as I said, identified by a color. And this will be updated live. So like in Formula One, on the upper left corner, there is these bar graphs that tell you who is leading. The same we will do indeed in running, in the battle of the team. And then for maybe Craig, that is a bit more familiar with the Tour de France, this is a classic TV graphic of Tour de France. Normally in marathon, we say leaders and who follow. Instead, we have leaders, first group of follower, and of course, the third group of follower. And our TV graphics is all based on this kind of graphics.
Wonderful. Love the way you've borrowed from so many different sports to pull this together. Wonderful. Next slide.
Yes, this is the final standing. So don't look the name, because this was a draft and will be ready, of course, 3 days before. You see indeed the position in the team. You see the name, the nationality, and you see the color and the brand. This is extremely important, because this will appear not only as a final standing, but many times during the whole broadcasting. So it's an added value for our lovely sponsors. And then this is the time of the final standing.
Wonderful. And you know, from a commercial perspective, we spoke about creating new revenue streams, new commercial opportunities, and clearly this has been embraced from what you were telling us on the planning call. Big brands in Czech Republic really getting behind it, and you've obviously created some inventory and value for your partners.
Oh yes, yes. We can go ahead to the next slide if you. Okay, this is the presentation of the 4 teams. Names are not real, and that is the final presentation. So according to this draft, Volkswagen has won with 8,000 points. The second is Matoni, the largest producer of soft drinks in Central Europe, with 7,900, with the color, of course, that identify the partner. The third one is Czech, which is the largest energy company in the country. And the fourth one is we could not miss beer in this. This is Pilsner Urquell, a very famous drink. So those are the four teams identified by colors, identified by one charity, and with the final standings.
The next slide.
Yes, and the next slide is where we will start. There is a very high interest in general when we do things in Prague, not because we are very good, but because Prague is very beautiful. And the course will be 13 laps in the heart of the city. And because the city is usually recognized as the heart of Europe, so in the heart of Europe. And the start.
Paolo, I'm gonna introduce you there, if I may, because I think the slide tells the story, and I'm really interested to hear some of the digital innovations that you've built here. I think, you know, one of the things that you spoke about in terms of the long-term opportunity is with the advent of 5G, this kind of concept happening on a global basis. And I'd love you also to touch on your Spotify playlist that you've built into this as well. So I think really important if we can. I think that story, let's leave that slide up there because it tells a great story. And I've been to that beautiful spot myself, but I'd love to talk about some more of the digital if we can. We've only got maybe another 5 minutes or so left.
Look, okay, thank you. This is not a project that is going to end this year. This is a 3 years project. How we see the development of the project. 5G is indeed behind the corner. All of us, we are watching and noting and taking notes of the huge investments that large companies are doing in super cloud solution. Yes. So we do believe that in 3 years' time, we can introduce the fantasy model. I mean, you are all familiar. I mean, I got acquainted through NBA, or better, through MLS, Major League Soccer. And we do believe that we can apply to running the same concept. Of course, gradually, next year, there could be the fantasy model with the people that run in presence. In 2 years, you can add a full virtual fantasy model. Means people run everywhere else and basically then participate in a team, picking up their star and so on. A little bit has happened indeed in other sport. I think we need it because our sport is 3,000 years old and almost. Our sport it's very beautiful. We do fantastic things. The world is changed. The platform is changed. Our races, they will be hybrid. There will be always an element of eye touch because people like to run together, to support each other, but there is also an element of high tech, especially what's happened in this year and a half. Indeed, we are trying to bring a marathon of a new platform, both in terms of marketing, technology, e-sport, OTT. We are trying to offer not 3 hours only live TV, but we upload our highlights 2 hours after. We build the documentary of 26 minutes more accessible. That is what indeed we are trying to do and what we do believe will happen. Indeed,
so in terms of that, you know, I guess tweaking that content offering, maybe share some of the insights around that. So you spoke about, you know, the live broadcast, the different platforms that you're going to be on. I mean, how small bite size are you doing? How are you distributing that? I mean, you know, with all due respect, you're one of the veterans of our sport. You've got this great idea, but you must be surrounded by a young, innovative team that's sharing with you. How do you maybe maybe give some insights, because I'm sure there's, you know, many veterans of our industry around the world saying, I don't even grasp half of this. How do I understand it? How do I embrace these great ideas? How do I create these amazing, innovative ideas that you've created here? Some of the insights from, you know, that you're obviously got a background in technology and IT and you get it, but how have you built a team around this to help you achieve all of this?
Because I wanted to have fun. Because those last 7-8 months has been indeed a bit inactive. No? So we were enough good and lucky to turn it in an opportunity. But indeed, we all recognize that when we watch a marathon, the first hour, let's say, is a little bit slow. Yeah. So we, when I ask, maybe, I don't know, Valencia, one of the most beautiful marathon I know, and people are all happy. And I catch somebody in the middle at 3 hours, and I say, how was it? Oh, fantastic. Do you know who won? No. And Carlo, I am not even interested. We need to solve it. Yeah. And so this, how I ended in those new innovation, a little bit because I have this kind of character, but maybe because I have a wonderful team. You know some of them around me. During this year, a lot of young people join the company. Now the digital department is the largest into the company. They are all very creative. They all work out of the box. Indeed, what we are trying to do, we are not trying, to find new ways to promote our marathon. We are trying to change the product we do promote. We don't want to that others do the bot, or we don't want to tell to anybody what to do. We want to inspire and energize people to open themselves to the marathon of the future, because we need to get those new youth communities, which honestly, they are not interested to see the marathon, to watch the marathon in the way as was presented, of course, except few exceptions, outstanding event. But yeah, we are
so bringing in, and we're going to have to wrap it up, but this whole concept of creating the rivalry of the team, the tribalness, putting it in the digital space, giving the opportunity virtually to be part of an event that's using 5G all over the world, Spotify playlists that we didn't get to, music that they choose to motivate themselves. Such an amazing innovation so far. And we wish you, and I'm sure everybody that's on the call that's listened to your inspiring and your passionate delivery, wishes you all the very best in a few weeks' time, and we look forward to seeing this evolve, and hopefully the opportunity that many of us that are watching now will be in person in your beautiful city to watch this, or running in other parts of the world when your 5G version evolves.
Oh yes, thank you very much. Spotify is a very beautiful thing. We give to the runners the opportunity to run with their own personalized playlist and other small things we added to our virtual event. Anyway, we have a website where you can find all those things. If you find your time to watch live on our streaming, and basically we cover all over the world with various TV station and media houses, and join us, because indeed we need the support of everybody. We do not have a benchmark. We feel that we have created something relatively new, and as you know, needs to be highly respected in order to meet the expectation and delivery.
Wonderful, Carlo. Just give us that website, and we will type it into the chat as well as we go through. Just a last word from you. Just roll out the website for us.
Yes, battleoftheteams.com. It's easy. We will maybe I'll write it on on the chat.
It's in the chat right now. Oliver's just typed it. People can go and visit that. Let's not distract them from the rest of the webinar. Give it a few more minutes or watch until the end of the show, and then you can go and log on to Battle of the Teams. Make sure you keep going back there over the next few weeks to watch the build-up and watch the event. Thank you so much, Carlo. So wonderful to see you again. Look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thank you to everybody for your time. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo. And now we move on from Europe. We head to a China focus, and I'm sure this is going to be really fascinating. Delighted to talk about hybrid experiences for endurance sports spectators and participants, lessons from China. And join me in welcoming Guy Horn, CEO of H&A Media. And the last time I saw Guy was actually in Prague a couple of years ago at European Business of Running. Great to see you again, Guy. Guy is joined by Julia Yang, Account Director, H&A Media China, joining us from Beijing, if I'm correct, Julia. And Lily Li, the Assistant General Manager of the Shanghai Marathon. Nice to see you, Lily.
Hi.
Thanks for joining. And I'm going to throw it over to you, Guy, and I'm going to just take a bit of a pause and let you run the show for the next little while.
Thank you very much, Chris, indeed. We are delighted to be here. I am going to give you a very short introduction on who our company is, but it's Julia and Lily who are going to be doing the talking and the presenting, and what better than two people who are in the market to talk about what is happening in China, especially with international events being broadcast in, which involve triathlon and running, and also about the Shanghai Marathon, arguably China's most famous, most international marathon event. So I'm Managing Director of H&A Media. We are a young company. We are 3 years old. Julia and I started the company in early 2018. I'm based in Lausanne in Switzerland. Don't be fooled by the virtual backdrop. Prizes for guessing where it is. And Julia is based in Beijing. We work and connect international and European federations with new audiences in Asia, and China is our speciality. And one of those new clients recently was Super League Triathlon. So it's a combination of running, cycling, and swimming. They had a desire to find new audiences in China, and they've just conducted for 2 years now hybrid events, which means basically real elements, so real swimming, but virtual cycling and virtual running. And I think Craig from Zwift will probably recognize the technology, recognize some of the images as well. He won't be a stranger to this. We had to make this accessible to a Chinese audience. So that was our challenge, and Julia project managed it. Julia will talk about this, and then we will then do a Q&A with Lily about the Shanghai Marathon. They themselves have handled staging the race every year. They haven't cancelled it, and they've also launched an e-race edition. I will say no more. We have two very professional presenters, and I think Lily, even when she was enjoying a fantastic Chinese dinner this evening, and let me tell you, restaurants are open in Shanghai, which breaks my heart. She was all prepared. So can I welcome Lily Li, Executive General Manager for Shanghai Marathon. The race had its 25th anniversary last year. It's a platinum label race. It's very well established. And I think what we've prepared is 2 or 3 questions for Lily, but she will expand, I think, on the e-race question. But I just want to know the Shanghai Marathon that was conducted last year and this year, what changed in terms of the experience for your runners?
Well, hi everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. Well, to the experience for our runners, we believe our runners from last year has a way better experience in 2020 compared to the pre-COVID events, because in 2020, our participation of each event has been have a huge scale down. We usually we have 38,000 runners for Shanghai Marathon, but for 2020 we only have 9,000 runners. But to the volunteers and staff, we have nearly 7,000 volunteers and staff that has taken the nucleic acid testing. I didn't count those security personnel or cleaning personnel in because they are not working for the front line, so they don't have to take the nucleic acid testing. So for the ratio of the volunteers and staff and to the runners, I think for 2020 Shanghai Marathon, we approximately the ratio will be 1:1. So for the runners, they have less runners on the course, and same number of the volunteers and staff provides the same high quality for our services. So we believe the experience for our runner in last year has a better experience than before. But to the pre-match preparation work, it's really been more complicated because we have a very strict conditions to the COVID-19 measures control. So all the runners need to prepare a negative nucleic acid test report, and they have to hand in a health and safety commit letter. The letter is mainly concerning whether they have fever or cough or other symptoms within the 14 days before the race, or whether they have been to the medium or high risk areas within 14 days. So other than the test report and the letter, they have to log in our Shanghai Marathon app to checking their body temperature on a daily basis. We will monitor and track all the runners and the staff, their body temperature and their health code status within 10 days before the race. So the preparation work has been really more complicated, but luckily, under the post-pandemic standard control in China, all the runners have expressed their fully understand and support to us and provided all the preparation materials very cooperatively.
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible use of digital technology, that you've got a health app specifically for running, and that you as an organizer have learned to operate that. And obviously the numbers are smaller. We're talking 9,000 now, so we're not into the tens of thousands. But that, again, that sounds like that's going to be around. And then I guess the other 29,000 who didn't get in the race.
Yes.
At what point, and how did you decide, and at what point did someone come up with the idea of an e-race, and how did you develop that idea to where it is today?
Well, actually, Shanghai Marathon had never carried out any forms of the virtual races before, because we believe that e-races, the experience of e-races is not comparable to the real events. Yet, after the pandemic, we recognize that the market and our target runners, our target groups and runners, I think they were changing. So we believe that virtual events were worthy of our analysis, investment, and creation of a new platform. Actually, in the first half of last year, we did a very in-depth market analysis through researching the users' portraits of virtual race, TA, including their age group, male to female ratio or market share. And we also made a very comprehensive plan for the virtual races. We developed our Shanghai Virtual Run to become an online running series. Since the 2020 Shanghai Marathon, we have held for now in all 4 real events by the end of our first half year this year. So each real event accompanied by a virtual event for the same time. For example, during in April, we have a Shanghai Half Marathon, and by the meantime, we have a Shanghai Half Marathon virtual run in the meanwhile. So this is also will be a trend for our future events. Every real event will be held along with a virtual event with the same name in the future. And we are very committed to bringing a better online competition experience to the runners. For example, what we did before was to create an immersive virtual competition experience. I have a presentation prepared, maybe can help us to understand more. Let me share my screen. So first of all, we think that we asked a well-known Shanghainese host in Shanghai to record a Shanghai dialect version of the voice package in our running app, using Shanghainese to tell the runners how fast and how far they've run. So when they're running through the app, they listen, not listen to the Mandarin voices, but listen to the Shanghainese dialect voices, that maybe he's running for 10 kilometers and how the paces he had. And I think we believe that such an immersive experience can make runners, maybe running in other cities, deeply feel that they are participating at least a Shanghai virtual race. And another highlight of our creativity is that we have the creation of a virtual check-in interactive experience. We sorted out the classic city landmarks along the Shanghai Marathon course and set them at various points away from the starting point. For example, Shanghai Exhibition Center is located at 5 kilometers in Shanghai Marathon's real events course. So when the runners are participating in the virtual race, once they achieve the 5 kilometers, the voice package will prompt them to take a photo with the Shanghai Exhibition Center. As the runner takes a selfie, they can cut out the picture with one click and generate the photo of the runners and with the exhibition in one picture. So that's the pictures I shared on the screen are the users, the UGC, and all the runners, what the comments we have from the runners that this interaction part is very interesting, and they maybe not all of the runners will stop their virtual run to take selfie, but we do have like 30% of runners, they use the part and have a very good comments on this. And the third part is we design a very beautiful and interesting medals for our all virtual race runners, because we think medals are the most powerful intention for runners to run the virtual race. So these are the medals we used for the Shanghai Marathon virtual run, and for the Shanghai Marathon half marathon virtual run, and for the those two, the two on the left corner is for the medals for the Shanghai Women's Half Marathon virtual run. And in addition, we inserted a 10-second short video, respectively, at the beginning and at the end of the virtual race. The video shows the first person view of crossing the starting line at the Bund and the finishing line at the Shanghai Medium. So with those innovative ideas, we hope that everyone can have a better experience, can better experience the charm of the Shanghai virtual run and feel their participation in the virtual race in Shanghai. Maybe have a better link to Shanghai Marathon real events.
Well, I can see the World Marathon Majors having to change their criteria, World Athletics. You know, I think we're seeing some innovation here. I can see Battle of Prague versus Shanghai for innovation as well. And what about your sponsors, Lily? What opportunities are they pursuing with training and apps and things like that? And are they being effective? Are they reaching young audiences?
Yes, our sponsors, first of all, they are very interested on the virtual races after 2020. So we cooperate a lot of items, and not only on the real events, but also we cooperated on our virtual races. And we have some top level sponsors categorizing in sports outfits. And they are very professional with the e-training program. So Shanghai Marathon doesn't create or have our own e-training program, but we cooperate with our sponsors. They will provide a whole training program, not only for the full marathon, but also for the half marathon and 10K race. So that's maybe other things our sponsors are interested in, and we are working out with them.
Well, I think this has been a great revelation for a lot of people who probably don't know how far ahead Shanghai Marathon has gone. And I think, Chris, what we'll do is we'll try and share some of this knowledge and some of these links. I'm sure you're going to get some international participants for the next e-race as well. Lily, thank you very, very much for your time. That was great. We're going to go to Julia now, and then I think we'll take questions at the end. So Lily, thank you very much.
Hello, can you hear me now? I hope everybody can hear me this time.
Absolutely perfectly. Julia,
okay,
the
great.
slideshow is yours and the floor is yours.
Yes, sorry about the delay, but I'm gonna go straight into the product we have brought into China this year, which I'm gonna start sharing my screen with everyone. So. Okay, so as Guy's introduction early on, Super League Triathlon Arena Games were in China this year, and that's their first time. And a lot of you probably know what Arena Game is about. So it's powered by Swift and blend real life and virtual racing, consists of swimming, bike, and running, and over short distance. That takes about just 45 minutes for each race. And you get men and women, also Paralympian categories. All these are taken indoor with running machines and spin bikes and 50 meters pool in a very nice arena. And TV broadcast was a combination of real onset broadcast and virtual screen for running and cycling, supplemented the coverage. So you have a lot of virtual data, and you have the picture of people riding a bike, in different cities as the kind of animation. And also you see all the performance data real time. Worldwide broadcast distribution was handled by Super League Triathlon themselves. However, China market is quite different with other markets. We have very different regulations. So HM Media was the specialist who handled the distribution of this product into China. Let me explain quickly about a video. It's basically a highlight card of what we have done for the product. For example, localized Chinese commentary, who is a professional triathlon commentator. However, the format of this arena series was very new to him. So he had to kind of start learning about the virtual, backgrounds and everything. What does it mean? And, what he can talk about. So we chose the streaming partner, Huya, to stream this new event. Why we chose it? Because there are several characters fits into the profile of this sport. So Huya Live is the #1 China-based leading live streaming platform focused on gaming with a significant audience under 30 years old. Building on its success in live streaming, Huya's open platform also functions as a marketplace for broadcasters and MCNs to congregate and closely collaborate with the companies. And secondly, sports division was established more than 3 years ago. It's a recent genre for Huya with a range of outdoor sports such as canoeing, triathlon, road running, motorsports, alpine skiing, badminton, and basketball. Even though it's very young, but you can see they're already including a lot of different types of sports. Sport content is currently free to access for the audience, for the viewers. And HM Media has been supplying around 45 sport events per year since 2018. And Huya's headquarters is Guangzhou. It is listed on the New York Stock Exchange since May 2018. By the end of 2020, Huya's annual net revenue was $1.69 billion, and a 30% growth from 2019. So Huya is one of the fastest growing live streaming or streaming platform in China. And it has a very good base of monthly active users. The PCN has about 172 million users, and another 74 million from the mobile devices. And they have paying users currently at 6 million. That's a background about Huya, and you can see why we chose to work with them. Because they're young, they're dynamic, and they have a lot of characters fit into this new event. And so there's a procedure of running the event, how to promote it into this new market. So we had pre-event promotions. For example, we had press release on all these major sport media outlets. There were 12 of them, and some of them are like Tom Sports, China Sports News, Mass Sports Net, etc. And then we also use the promotional video from the organizer to show what the sports is about to the Chinese viewers, and which was a lot of localized information about the date and time, about who are the star athletes, etc. And then during the live streaming, we also had the premium spots for this new Super League Triathlon event. So you can see on the left-hand side is a screenshot of the device of the users. When you open the app, you can see our banner was on the top of the screen of the sports genre. And then if you scroll down, you can still see us on the top. There's the screenshot on the right-hand side too. And the right-hand side, the two bigger pictures are the real events screenshots. So when it was streamed on Huya, that's how it looked like. Probably you can see what it really looks like in the video later on, hopefully.
The video's ready now. Do you want to cue the video?
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
If we can show what the product looked like. Yeah. Please.
Roll the video, Team Bali.
Thank you.
上一站伦敦站的比赛当中是拿到第6位，去年的鹿特丹站比赛是拿到第5位。
This is a commentary we added.
另外，在19年的东京奥运会资格赛当中是拿到第10名，集团行进的位置还不是很吃力。这样的话，在第1阶段最后阶段，我们来看自行车赛段最后的冲刺。如果他能够继续保持下去的话，应该是没有问题。来看最后的冲刺，德米尔心里边应该是知道自己能够获胜。好的，根据我们对波特的了解呢，这位选手是在16年里约奥运会当中是参加了女子10000米的比赛，所以在跑步赛段，这位选手具有非常强劲的实力。双方的差距现在不到1秒钟。这斯波特基本上这个速度啊，感觉像虚拟当中感觉像持续在加速一样。
That's our commentary station. Okay. Yeah, that's the product, which is, really neat and beautiful. And so, yeah, and that brings us to, oh, sorry, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Okay, so that brings to us to the result of this, live streaming. So there, the viewing figures of the last two arena games, both were broadcasted live streamed in April, and the first one was streamed in the afternoon, and the second one was at night. Both are good times. And cumulative views, we are looking at about 197,000 to 974,000 views, cumulative views. And then we have peak concurrent users. That means how many users were watching the game at the same time. And we're looking at around 400,000. And the second one is a bit more, 428,000 users at the same time. So these, I would say these numbers are really good for a really, novel kind of format of sport, endurance sport, because there's so much going on that people don't understand yet. And it is, then brings to the next point that when you bring a new product into a new market, we really need to localize it with, for example, good commentary. On the left-hand side is our commentator in his station. He got all this material prepared, and you can see they're everywhere. And, we help them prepare it, of course. And the thing is, having him, he was explaining, for example, in the highlights, the historical records of this Lady Porter, and also the rivalry between Porter and Coldwell, and also what's the data on the visuals at the time. So it's super useful and really beneficial to have a professional local commentator to commentate on the product.
Thank you very much, Julia. We've overrun a bit, so we'll take questions, I think, collectively at the end from Chris. But I think between Shanghai and their fantastic innovations with e-racing, the Shanghai Dialect app is fantastic. We'll take questions in Mandarin, Shanghai Dialect and English, I would say, after this. And thank you very much, Julia. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to the team from H&K and also H&A, and obviously Lily from Shanghai for bearing with the technical issues on both sides. But we got there, and some great vision and some great insights as well. So let's just say a big thank you again to Guy Horn, CEO, H&A Media, Julia Yang, Account Director, H&A Media China, and Lily Lee, Assistant General Manager, Shanghai Marathon, for those insights and joining us. And we'll welcome next up as our guests, Florian Weber, Creative Director, Munich 22, in conversation with Alessio Punzi, Road Events Manager, World Athletics. Take it away, Alessio.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, Paul. How are you? No, long time no see, Flo.
Hey, yeah, very much indeed. Looking good, Alessio, like always.
Thank you. Now, Chris often says that the best panels, the best discussions are those that resemble a coffee table conversation. In the case of Florian and me, this will resemble a water cooler conversation, because the two of us have been sharing an office for quite a while. So try to picture this as me picking up some random technology, virtual sport hint and asking questions to the expert. So here I'm the dumb uncle who does get something, but not too much of it. And Florian is the guy who would enlighten me and hopefully you about all the possibilities that exist within virtual sport. Now, Florian, this is a road races webinar first and foremost, and the bulk of our audience here is made of road race organizers. We've all seen, and in some cases produced, road races in terms of championship road races, and we know that they are quite a challenging product to bring to life and to make a meaningful and entertaining viewer experience from. Now, you've been event presentation manager for World Athletics. You are creative director for a massive, major multi-sport event, which also encompasses athletics. So you probably are definitely well qualified to give an answer to this. How can, through technology, the spectator experience of a road race, of a distance race, be enhanced?
Well, I think we've seen very good examples from Carlo already and what they plan for the battle. I think this is the way to go. There's, data is very valuable, but it's even more valuable to actually then take that data and put it into something meaningful. And I think we're not just there yet. We need to look, we need to learn, we need to listen, and we need to look into really what kind of data does make a marathon, a race walk, a road cycle event. What kind of data makes that more appealing? What makes it more interesting to watch? What also makes it easier to follow? I think this is something we have to work on. And well, looking into Munich and what we try to achieve here is definitely trying to give more data out there, to use different ways of, not just the running time, not just the progress, which again, I think is not always a given. So looking into some races you see out there, you always or sometimes have a hard time to actually see where are we in that race? What's the progress? Everybody's used to a loading bar. Everybody's used to knowing exactly where you are. I think this is something we're still lacking, and this is definitely something we need to pick up. And then we're also talking about segmentation. I think you have to look into how can you make those 42K more tangible. And people are used to smaller bits and pieces. Attention span is not as good as it was, or maybe it just changed. But how can we actually make segments of that race more tangible and really, take it piece by piece instead of looking at the whole stretch of the 42K? There is a tendency of having loops now for major sport events, of not having a point-to-point race, but of having a loop. We'll have a loop in Munich as well, a 10K loop, which is a beautiful loop showcasing the city. And I think that is always the what you try to achieve when you host one of these events. Same if I'm talking about our road cycling courses, beautiful courses. And there we really try to segment that, put it into smaller bits and pieces, put that into TV graphics, put that also on in graphics on social, and make it easier to follow. Taking it step by step, always knowing where you are, always knowing what's the challenge of that very segment. Is it just a flat course at the moment? Is it really speedy, good for pacemaking, or do we have a climb coming up? So really trying to anticipate the storytelling along it, and make people make it easier for people. Get the barriers out of the way, make it easier to follow.
And when you mention data, what exactly do you mean? What kind of data, in your opinion, are spectators on TV interested in, but also participants interested in? Now, if you ask me, off the top of my head, with the current technology, at the very least, we should do a better job as an industry to provide GPS data, explain where the athletes are and how the gaps are. But maybe we can take this one step further with the biometric data. What do you think about it?
Yeah, there is the issue of data protection here. So there is a slight concern around that, but we're definitely looking into that. So I just mentioned heart rate. There are other interesting facts around, to better understand the runner's physical shape at that very point of time. Is who is more excited at the start line, but also who is actually taking it better, who's more resilient throughout that race, and whose body is making better adaptations to the challenge. I think this is really very interesting to actually get those insights. The tech is there, that's not the question, and the tech has been there for quite a long time. It's more along the lines of what kind of data can you actually really make public, because this is very, very personal data. I mean, it can't get very more personal than your heart rate. And I think this is exactly what we need to look into. Our athletes also ready, our athletes, our coaches, our teams ready to publish that for the benefit of the spectators. And these are discussions we're having at the moment, and we're hoping we can dive into that rich data a little bit in Munich in August 2022.
As you know, I'm a cycling fan and a road cycling fan, and this discussion already happened in that sport a few years back when power meters became commonplace. The question as to who owned this data came about, and race organizers thought it was theirs, team maintained it was theirs. Eventually, they came to a compromise by creating a consortium of race organizers that owns the data. But these data are given, I don't know if there is any passive money, I would imagine so, to the race organizer for them to build into their broadcast of the event, which makes it much more enjoyable for the casual spectator. Because one thing that we don't really have in our sport is that, well, we do have when it comes to times, but we don't have when it comes to perceived effort, is the realization of how you compare against these champions of the sport. We know that Kipchoge does a marathon in 2 hour sub 202 and guy X does it in 3 hours 30, but what exactly does that mean in terms of glucose levels in the blood, in terms of heartbeat? That would be interesting information to know, no?
Exactly. I think this is also how you can actually bridge that gap, because yes, as a runner myself, but on a very, very different level than any of the runners will have for the championships here in Munich. It's hard to bridge that gap between a European champion marathon time and me running a 5K and running my pace. But again, I think it helps to actually put it into segments. And we're actually very close to going live with our road cycling courses on Strava to actually trigger that, to make people try to be the champion of a certain segment there. It's going to be very, very hard to champion the whole course against the actual champions, but maybe you can take away a win just for bits of the course, and also now you have a lot of time now. You can try many times, whereas the athletes that will come in August next year will only have that chance once, and I think this is exactly what we need to play with. Getting people more engaged, running, the big boost. Everybody got into running now, almost everybody. Everybody got onto a bicycle now just to get moving and to connect this. And then I think the quantification, quantify self, to get that connected to, and then also give the same data. You have, I think, tracking your with your Apple Watch, with Strava, you have actually more data than we can offer when we broadcast or when we show something on site. And this is definitely something we need to, that gap needs to be bridged.
So you think that it's mainly a matter of explaining the athletes why it's in their best interest, because at the end of the day, we are promoting the sport, we are promoting their performance, to share this data with us, with spectators.
Yeah, and I think there is, so the feedback we got so far is it's not a no, definitely not. It's a maybe. And I think there is a lot to consider. It also we need to think about the level play field. So, it can't be that we just get some data exclusively from some athletes that would be ready, that would potentially give advantage to someone who doesn't give it. Because it gives more insight, but if you don't give those insights, so it's not an easy topic, definitely not. Especially now that I think people also have a better awareness of data privacy, and when it gets into competition or high performance sport, data is very valuable, and data is valuable if you are a competitor and you have the chance to look into your direct head-to-head competitor. So I think we're on a good way there. We don't have a solution just yet, but I'm very confident.
Florian, and taking biometric data aside, which pose a number of interesting challenges, fascinating challenges, talking about technical data of the sport. Now, you've been working in producing track and field competitions before, and I remember that in the preparation for Doha, for example, our broadcasting department, in conjunction with you, started to produce data such as the speed of release the velocity of release of a particular implement, or the angle of takeoff. Can you dwell more on that? Given that the technology is advancing at a very fast pace, what are the opportunities from a spectator point of view? What is that? I watch athletics, and what data can really enhance my viewer experience of a track and field meet?
Well, and that is a very good question. I don't think we have found an answer to that yet, because again, the data points are out there. They're out there to be collected. And we have, and I'm pretty sure will agree with me, we have all the tech, all the means to collect those data. I think what we haven't really figured out yet is put a filter over the mass of data, and then really filter out what makes it more tangible, what makes it more interesting. And this is, you mentioned the vortex, the angle of release. That's very good for commentators to interpret and to see, okay, why did a javelin go farther compared to the other to another one that was released at a different angle. But this is all data that, first of all, needs good graphics to go with, and needs also someone to still tell you what that means. Now, I think the key actually really has to be self-explanatory data. So it's put into graphics, and you don't need someone to actually translate that for you. So the easier, the more simple, the better, the more accessible we get. To find that data, to identify that data, to be more accessible. I think that is something we need to work on, and actually we are working on as we speak to identify that, and then make it more tangible. Speed is something that everybody can relate to. The problem is if you put the speed on the speed gauge on for our mid or long distance races, people start not to because people don't have speed. Speed is connected to transport, means of transport mainly. And yes, people can relate to, how fast is 20 kilometers per hour. That's something you can relate to. Okay, you do this on your bike. The problem with that is you can also do that with your car, and then all of a sudden those speeds are not very impressive. If you're not a runner yourself, it's very hard to relate again. So you need to also put it into perspective and make it as easy as possible for people to understand it. Any data or any graphic that needs someone to explain for 5 minutes what that means is not made for us, and it doesn't really help us on site and not for the event broadcast itself. It's good for maybe afterwards, long storytelling, but for real-time storytelling, that won't help.
It's funny that you should mention real-time storytelling, because I was about to ask you a question right on that. Now, assuming that after our bid, there will be a presentation on the World Athletics Indoor Championships, hosting opportunities for the future. Now, indoor track and field meets, indoor competitions are particularly interesting because it's a controlled environment that can be probably fairly easily connected, where the connection opportunities are easier than in a stadium. Now, whenever we watch most sporting competitions nowadays, it's impossible to do it only with one screen. You always want to have another screen where, at the very least, you are checking, Twitter discussion, and you want to be part of the conversation. And in some cases, you also want to know how old is the athlete, what their BMI is, or what the stage profile is like, all sorts of information that help you better understand what you're watching on the other screen. Now, let's move this into an actual spectating experience in the stadium. It's 2024 and we are at the World Indoor Championships, and it's beautiful and tech has really advanced. What are we in for? How are we going to be entertained and informed?
Well, I would even add to your question, or maybe change your question to a little bit, what's in it, no matter if you're on site in venue or watching from abroad, because I think that is really what we want to achieve. We want to give people, what you just mentioned is exactly right. I think this multi-devicing is a thing, everybody's doing it. I'm discovering myself all the time, watching, even if I'm watching Netflix, sport, whatever, my smartphone or something else is with me, and I'm easily distracted, or I look up stuff that kind of connects to what I've just seen. So the reality of a secondary screen is there. Now, how do we want to tackle that? What we don't want to have is actually, putting a lot of content there that replaces the live experience. You want to augment the live experience with what you put on there. So I was very critical from the very beginning. I still am of offering replays, live video, other possibilities, because that actually brings you into a bubble and disconnects you from what's happening right there in front of your eyes. I think this is what we need to solve in a better way. So for me, the solution of what kind of content to put on there is not so much replays, looking into different camera angles, but it's more actually getting really even more excited about what's on the field of play happening right in front of your eyes. And this can be done by kind of live voting on on decisions. We have this example that actually takes it even further with Formula E, where you can, through your voting, can actually, you know, give advantages, give power boosts to teams. Now that's going to be tricky for athletics, I guess. We'll have to see. We can't really shorten, you know, the 100 meter down to 90 meters for some people. That would really be unfair. But at the same time, I think what you can do is actually gamify it right on there. It's not just cheering, but it's also, okay, I want to get more involved. So who is going to win the high jump? What's the what kind of end result will we have for the high jump, for the pole vault? Will it be a sub 10 European champion, or will it be beyond that? What kind of points will we have in the decathlon? All this is possible. Actually, all this, or to a certain extent, we already had this done in Birmingham at the World Indoor Championships in 2018, and we are still evolving from there. And we're now looking also into actually augmentation of this. So actually, if you put up your phone, finding bits and pieces on the field of play, finding real-time and geolocated or located information that might help, especially with athletics, to find what you just want to see and actually augment the experience, make the experience that you have even better.
You're getting me very excited about this new spectacular experience that is coming up in the future. Well, Munich 22 is not particularly far away, and neither is the World Athletics Indoor Championships. Florian, unfortunately, our time is always tight, and today makes no exception. I'd like to thank you for these insights, for these little glimpses of future you gave us, and I'd like to pass the baton back to Chris for the final part of our show today. Thank you, Flo. Bye.
Thanks very much for having me. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alessio and Florian. Lots to consider there, and it sounds like really exciting times for you there in Munich, Florian. Thanks for sharing. Great job on the moderating there, Alessio, as we moved from one World Athletics staff member to another, and we welcome back Mark Hurst, the bidding manager from World Athletics. We've seen two wonderful presentations from him over the last two sessions, and delighted to welcome him back today to share the most immersive experience in athletics, introducing the World Indoor Championships 2024 and 2026. Hello, Mark. Welcome back.
Hi, Chris. Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed the session so far. We've now just got a sprint finish on bidding opportunities. So let me just share my screen with you all. Okay, looking forward to challenge what the future holds for your community today through the prism of the World Athletics Indoor Championships. We are World Athletics, and our vision is to use the power and accessibility of athletics and our athletes to create a healthier and fitter world. We plan to realize this vision through our World Championship events, known as the World Athletics Series. These include 7 of the highest profile global championships in our sport. Each event is carefully curated with race organizers, member federations, and host cities in mind to achieve specific goals. We have the network and capacity to upscale any international competition into a truly global one, attracting the world's best athletes and millions of fans, both in person and across all digital platforms. Today, we're going to hone in on the World Athletics Indoor Championships, but feel free to reach out to us on any of our other World Athletic series. The World Athletics Indoor Championships is one of our 2 premium World Athletics Series events. Compared to the World Athletics Championships, this event is accessible to a wide range of host cities. This is because it can adapt to any location and venue, whether it's purpose-built athletics arena, multi-purpose sports facility, or another entertainment venue. Temporary track installations enable hosting opportunities in any city with an indoor venue of sufficient capacity for a minimum of 5,000 seats. The World Athletics Indoor Championships is an immersive experience like none other in the sport. This event has been designed to truly immerse fans in the action. The pulsating music, advanced pyrotechnics, augmented reality, and special effects can make for a sensory overload in person, on screen, and on mobile. This is sporting theater at its very best, and the experience will have everyone on the edge of their seats, wherever and however they consume sport. The World Athletics Indoor Championships is an ideal opportunity to connect and engage your local community by showcasing your host city's culture. Athletics is a focus, but art, music, technology can all be incorporated into these championships to give it your distinctive touch and create a game-changing experience and deeper connection for all involved. Now, I'm just going to hand back over to Chris and the team to let us take a quick look at the previous edition in Birmingham, England in 2018.
Look at them eyes, bluer than the clear blue sea. Lies, nothing but lies, it's all you ever told me. Fall, fall, falling again, falling right under your spell. Through you I know the way by heart, between here and heaven and hell. Here and heaven and
So the World Athletics Indoor Championship invites the best of the best to compete in a total of 26 official World Championship events, 13 for women and 13 for men, over 3 days of non-stop medal action. We're delighted to announce that bids are now open for the next 2 editions of the World Athletics Indoor Championships, taking place in 2024 and 2026. The 2024 edition occupies a particularly desirable place in the calendar, as this will be the final World Athletics Indoor Championship event prior to the 2024 Paris Olympics, and is a key element of the qualification process. We are also happy to work with hosts on expanding the program by including additional running related opportunities that hosts feel will contribute to both the profile of the event and their community. The World Athletics Indoor Championships is more than just medals. It offers a feast of additional opportunities for organizers and host cities, including running clinics with custom-made training programs that can be rolled out both locally and nationally through running clubs and communities, and with access to past and present athletes. School engagement with national youth and school races that can be held alongside the main event. Outreach with youth clinics and courses for coaches and officials, with locals being invited to try out athletics on a World Championship facility. Event-associated e-learning initiatives, whereby host staff and volunteers will have upskilling opportunities through the World Athletics e-learning platform, which offers sport and event-related education tools. And other activations, such as mass participation events and races, sports conferences and summits, fitness and e-sport exhibitions, as well as concerts and local festivals, which can all be tied into this event. Now, looking at how organizers can generate revenues from the World Athletics Indoor Championships. Firstly, through the competition directly, including admission tickets, national sponsorship, merchandise, concession revenue, and commercial hospitality sales. And secondly, through the additional events mentioned, including running clinic fees, local hotel commissions, mass participation registration fees, sport conference tickets, and fitness and e-sport exhibition tickets. Let's now consider the overarching benefits to the host city and the return on investment across economic, social, and environmental pillars. Firstly, economic benefits. As one of the highest profile events in athletics, this championship is well positioned to deliver meaningful returns on host city investment. The World Athletics Indoor Championships in Birmingham 2018 had a total direct economic impact of around $6 million and a total economic impact of over $7 million. There were around 20,000 spectator admissions recorded from that event, of which 78% were out-of-town visitors. The average daily spend of out-of-town visitors for that event was around $149. 73% of spectators said that due to attending the World Athletics Indoor Championships, they were more likely to return to Birmingham in the next 2 years. Secondly, social benefits. Given the increased awareness of running benefits to both physical and mental health, the World Athletics Indoor Championships might be the perfect catalyst to promote health and well-being to any level of athlete or spectator in your city. 52% of spectators at the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Birmingham 2018 said that attending the event had inspired them to do more active recreation or sport than they would normally. Now, if you consider the perceptions of division in society today, the World Athletics Championships can play a role in helping to build closer communities and generate greater civic pride, as well as encouraging equality and inclusion. At the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Birmingham 2018, 98% of local residents felt proud that their city hosted a World Championship event. The World Athletics Indoor Championships is generally an event for the whole family, with fans in Birmingham comprising of 54% men and 46% women. And it's also worth noting that there's complete gender balance across the field of play, with equal prize money for men and women. Thirdly, environmental benefits. In recognition of the environmental challenges faced by cities today and the growing scrutiny under which the event industry is placed, World Athletics will work with organizers to implement a sustainable management system. This will demonstrate to internal and external stakeholders an authentic walk the talk commitment to sustainability. World Athletics has a particular focus on air quality, and our team may measure this in the arena or host city to help improve the awareness on its impact to both health and performance. Finally, there is an important fourth pillar, image and reputation benefits. The World Athletics Indoor Championships is among the most eagerly anticipated events of the year. The World Athletics Indoor Tour, with its 25 competitions around the globe, has brought a fresh anticipation and narrative to indoor athletics, putting it in the spotlight with enhanced media exposure and spectator interest in recent years. Event coverage incorporates more than 1,000 journalists and broadcasters covering the action at the event. The broadcasting coverage now reaches almost 200 countries with a cumulative average audience of over 133 million recorded at Birmingham 2018. And on digital, there were over 3 million web impressions generated at the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Portland 2016. And this is expected to grow exponentially as World Athletics doubles down on its digital profile. Our athletes and the fast-paced nature and exciting format of our sport makes the World Athletics Indoor Championships a perfect fit for young audiences and digital platforms. The introduction of new fan engagement initiatives and an enhanced range of exclusive behind-the-scene multimedia content are all part of the World Athletics commitment to connecting the event, the hosts, and our athletes with new audiences online to ensure every future edition will engage with more people in a powerful and meaningful way. This global media reach and connection can create a huge marketing boost for your city. The World Athletics Indoor Championships promotes the joy of movement to inspire everyone and bring communities closer together. Athletics legends can visit schools to share the positive effect of exercise with workshops and youth championships. Local residents and sports enthusiasts can also play an active role in this once-in-a-lifetime experience through volunteering opportunities. Moreover, this event could lead the host city towards becoming an annual host on the World Athletics Indoor Tour. And it could also help develop a wide-ranging client database for future physical and virtual mass participation events. So if any of this presentation has struck a chord with you today and made you more interested in hosting the World Athletics Indoor Championships, let's briefly consider the next steps in the process. The bid guide and the pre-qualification form for the 2024 and 2026 editions of the event are currently available on our website, with both editions running the same bid timeline. Importantly, the bid submission deadline for the pre-qualification form is the 1st of June 2021. We will then share a bid application form with those qualified candidates, and the submission deadline for that bid application form is the 1st of October 2021. Finally, to answer some frequently asked questions, the indicative budget of this event is between $7 to $8 million US. Budgets will obviously vary on a case-by-case basis depending on the cost of living in the host city and the strength of the commercial program, which can help be offset through in-kind sponsorship. Based on the World Athletics global calendar, the preferred date for this event is the 3rd week of March, but we may be open to other dates. And the venue requirements. The main venue must be a minimum 5,000 seat arena containing a permanent or temporary 6-lane oval track and an 8-lane straight track. So that's all we have time for today, folks. But if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to get in touch. You can reach us on bidding@worldathletics.org, or you can contact me directly on mark.hurst@worldathletics.org. Thank you very much for listening. Back over to Chris and the team in the studio.
Thanks so much, Mark. Some great vision there in the video and an exciting opportunity. And as you say, the opportunity with more digital enhancement to bring a younger audience to it, the fun, vibrant element of it in an indoor arena. Thank you for sharing that. And folks, thank you so much for staying the distance. It has indeed been a marathon. Apologies for the short technical that we had there when maybe some of you didn't even realize we lost connectivity here out of the studio, but the show seemed to go on. But that was the reason why we replayed the video towards the end. We had a dropout here of internet connectivity. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to all of our presenters, and gives me great pleasure to throw back to Alessio Punzi, Road Events Manager for World Athletics, to wrap up the show and say goodnight. Travel safe, be safe wherever you're going. It seems more and more people are getting the opportunity to travel, but look forward to these wonderful opportunities that we've shared tonight. As Hugh Brasher said, an opportunity to build a 24-inch pizza out of a 12-inch pizza. Really exciting, great opportunities to embrace, and look forward to seeing you at the next edition of the World Athletics Road Racing Seminar.
Thanks, Chris. And I really love the sessions that leave me with more questions than answers at the end. Today was definitely one of those as we embarked into a discussion around the future our sport in a virtual world. Virtual inevitably is here to stay, and whether and how different operators will make sense of that will dictate the success of the industry going forward. If you wonder why we had that presentation on the indoor championships in a road race webinar, it's because we have just launched hosting opportunities for this event as well, and we thought it would be interesting for a group of potential host cities to hear about the most immersive, potentially the most immersive, and one of the most potentially tech-enabled championships that we have. We thought it could be interesting for you. It is a wrap for me from today. We hope to have another webinar in about a month's time. We have a couple of topics that we are playing around. One is inclusion in terms of disability sport and how to make sense of disability sport, how to bridge the gap between what we do, normal road races, elite road races, and world parathletics. And the other is a piece of research on recreational running that just came out, and we thought it could be interesting for you as an audience. Thank you for staying the distance. It was a long and hopefully interesting afternoon, and I look forward to working with you in the next weeks. Chat soon. Bye-bye.